So I'd like to first say thank you for attending today's web training. We'll be discussing IP camera, DVR, and web server design systems today. My name is Troy Barron. I'm the National Sales Manager here for Channel Vision Technology. And please don't believe the photograph. The camera adds at least 15 pounds. But just a little bit about me. I've been in the industry for a little over 15 years now, working both in the custom world, doing installs, as well as in distribution, and now for the manufacturer. So the good news is I will have some perspective to be able to help you out with this, this training here today. If you're not already familiar with Channel Vision, Channel Vision's been around since 1993, coming up on our 19th anniversary, I believe, and we manufacture a full gamut of products for the well-connected home. We're the second largest structured wiring manufacturer in North America, with a true plasma-proof solution for IR control, as well as our ARIA audio solutions with our high-performance amplifiers and a full line of speakers. We also manufacture A-Bus, distributed audio and power over Cat5, as well as whole house intercom surveillance solutions, which we'll be talking about today, and Channel Vision exclusive technology. The first product that we made was the modulator, perfectly coinciding with surveillance. This training today will take us about 45 minutes to an hour. I will have a section available specifically for questions. There will be two sections that you'll be able to type in the event that we do not answer all of your questions. Do not worry. We will address them via an email response. We have over 100 participants today. With that being said, today we're going to go over some key features of the products, some basics for setup and installation, including how to network your IP cameras, as well as some considerations and variables that you may encounter when you're doing your IP-based system. First question you may ask yourself is, why do I even want to get into IP? Well, the bottom line, out of all of our markets in our industry, video surveillance is poised to grow the most over the next 2 years at a minimum of 8.9% projected rate. Another reason you may consider that is that according to the FBI, over 74% of all burglaries are residential applications, and over 2 million burglaries occurred in 2010 alone. So now there's IP, there's analog cameras, and why should you consider each option? Well, if you're looking at IP cameras, generally speaking, IP cameras are going to offer you better quality video. With IP cameras, you'll have a scalable expansion system that you'll be able to grow into or expand beyond traditional digital video recorders. Simple Cat5 wiring is all you need for a IP-based system. Easy off-site storage capabilities using FTP sites, as well as the ability to integrate with touchscreen automation platforms. On the other side, you do have analog cameras, which do offer a lower quality video. However, they do offer a less expensive solution, but you're typically limited to the number of channels that's connected to the DVR. You do need to integrate additional wiring, such as coax and power, more often than not, and you're typically limited with some off-site storage and the capacity of the DVR that you're working with. So if we're looking at a couple considerations, these are 5 things that we'll be talking about today that you need to take into consideration when you're doing an IP-based system. Megapixel resolution, your wiring, your recording type, bandwidth, as well as nighttime considerations for nighttime applications. First, take a look at the wiring to consider. Now, if you are using wireless cameras, then you still will require power at the camera until they figure out how to make that wireless power we've all been looking for beyond lightning. We will be tethered to the electrical outlet. If you're using an IP-based system, you can use a Cat5 cable or a balance system for analog video. For analog, you also can use our coax system using RG59 and 2 conductors for power, or depending on your IP system, you can integrate a power over Ethernet enabled switch. More considerations are nighttime applications. things that you have to consider are what is the available light and how important is recording at night. Just for example, lux rating is a measurement of light that's available for the camera, and a lux rating with 0 implies that it's total darkness, which implies you would have to have additional lighting available. How far do you want to see in the dark? Do you really only need to see 15 feet, or are you still trying to cover the entire parking lot? Take into consideration reflected light. Cameras can use reflected light such as infrared repeaters, as well as IR illuminators, or considering floodlight, landscape lighting, porch lights, and the available lighting within the area of coverage. Network bandwidth is something else you have to consider. And network bandwidth is, technically speaking, referring to how much data you can actually send through the network. It usually is measured in bits per second, but you can think of bandwidth essentially as a highway with cars traveling on it. The highway is the network connection, and the cars are the data. The wider the highway, the more cars that can travel at one time. In regards to network bandwidth, the amount of bandwidth that is used by a camera is determined by several factors, most notably image resolution, frame rate, and your compression ratio. In regards to resolution, an IP camera's resolution is determined by pixels, and the higher the resolution, the higher the pixel count, and the greater amount of detail that you'll be able to capture with your video image. It is important to determine how much detail is really enough for your specific application. Typically, as the image quality goes up, so does the bandwidth required. Regarding video compression is an important tool that helps ease the strain on the network, and compression technologies come in a variety of different options, including Motion JPEG, MPEG-4, H.264, all of which allow users to stream and record high-quality video without hoarding too much bandwidth. Today, H.264 is the latest compression technique, dramatically reducing file size while increasing overall efficiency and lower storage cost. Regarding frame rate, this is something that can be adjusted within your IP camera settings or your video server or in some video management softwares. By controlling the frame rate, you can also reduce the bandwidth usage, and you can eliminate unnecessary frames from traveling over the network. One common technique is to set this to a lower frame rate only when motion is detected. Now, there are a variety of different variables here, so they all will affect your bandwidth differently, and I cannot tell you for your specific application which is best. That'll be for you to take into consideration. Something else you might want to consider is megapixel resolution. Now, megapixel cameras take video surveillance to a whole nother level by providing a higher level of resolution than your traditional security camera would. This improved resolution is not only going to result in clearer video images, but it will also increase the camera's field of view without loss in image detail. As an example, a single megapixel camera can cover an area that would normally require multiple surveillance cameras. So consider how many cameras it takes to monitor a location such as a casino, a parking lot, construction sites, retail stores, etc. So in a parking lot, for example, it's now possible for a single IP camera to cover an entire area, because that camera operator can zoom into a specific area and focus in on the image that they're looking for. Bottom line is, megapixel resolution translates into higher quality resolution, meaning greater image detail. We talked a little bit about video compression earlier, including Motion JPEG, H.264, and MPEG-4. Motion JPEG is, just as implied, a stream of individual snapshots. Motion JPEG is often used for lightweight devices such as cell phones and touchscreen automations because it is a little bit lower resolution. Today, one of the better operations that you can utilize is H.264 compression, which is better quality and less space. Something else you're going to have to consider when doing an IP-based system is recording. How are you going to do the recording? There's essentially 3 or 4 ways that you can do recording with an IP camera system. You can really just use it as a remote monitoring so that you can see a high-definition stream. You can utilize central management software, either a professional-grade video management software, or in some applications, IP cameras include a central management software, which enables you to essentially convert any desktop computer into a network video recorder. Your third option is a network video recorder, which is a device that attaches to the network that allows you to record from the network. If we take a closer look at each of these, remote monitoring will look something like this. If you're logging in with your Channel Vision IP camera, you'll be able to have a whole gamut of controls while just viewing your camera. Here you'll be able to see your video stream, your year-to-date format for your time, how many people are on, audio, relays, as well as access to some of your settings. And this is just via the remote monitoring software, logging in directly to the IP address. An alternative that you can use is the central management software that we talked about. Now this is an example of the Channel Vision central management software, which is included with your IP camera. This specific software allows you to connect up to 36 different cameras and essentially give you all the essential functions that a network video recorder would without the added cost. No additional licensing, and all you need is to have this software loaded on the computer and essentially convert that computer into a network video recorder. If you're using that computer, you may want to consider adding a network attached storage device. This essentially, think of it as a external hard drive that plugs into your network, and then it allows you to export all the video from that network onto this external hard drive for storage. This is one way that you can convert a typical infrastructure into an NVR. Now, with video storage comes a few more questions. Questions like, how many surveillance cameras are you going to be operating with? Will the cameras be recording continuously or only during certain hours of the day? Are your IP cameras going to be set to record for motion or constant video? How long is the video footage going to be stored on your hard drive? And of course, what level image quality do you desire? All of these will take effect on how much storage do I need, which is the big question. And the typical sales answer is, well, it depends. Given the Channel Vision example, with the Channel Vision 2 megapixel IP camera at the best setting, at the best resolution, the best frame rate, using the best compression, you could expect this to average around 2 gigs per hour per camera. Now again, every application is a little bit different, but these are some things to consider and an example of the best or worst case scenario in terms of storage. Your other alternative is integration with a network video recorder. With a network video recorder, essentially your cameras plug into the network, as does the network video recorder. And then you can view that, both your camera and access the network video recorder from your computer. Typically, IP cameras use a standard known as ONVIF, which implies that you can all work together nicely. Now, we'll have a question section in a little bit that you'll be able to type in, but let me go through a few other things regarding some of the specs and considerations. First, let's take a look at the product itself. Today, we're talking about 2 of Channel Vision's IP cameras, the 6522 Bullet and the 6521 Dome. Both of these cameras are going to offer you a whole gamut of features that will be able to help you on your next install. Both of these cameras are going to boast a high HD quality resolution of 1600 by 1200. That's 2 megapixel quality. Both of them are going to offer varifocal lens, which implies that it's a manually adjustable lens, so you can set it to the specific application you need and then walk away from it. Water-resistant outdoor rating for IP66, as well as multiple compression methods, similar to the 3 we talked about earlier, H.264, MPEG-4, as well as Motion JPEG. We did talk about nighttime applications and considerations. The good news is that both Channel Vision IP cameras do offer IR illuminators so that you can see in the dark for up to 60 feet away. In addition to that, if you don't have an iPhone, you don't have an iPhone. But if you do have an iPhone, you can use a ChannelVision app, or even if it's not a branded iPhone, you can integrate with 3G smartphones and view your cameras remotely. Some additional settings that you'll find in these cameras are ONVIF compliance. We touched briefly a little bit about ONVIF, implying that this is a universal standard in the IP video world, implying that everybody will be able to play nice together as long as you carry an ONVIF certification. In addition, the IP cameras, both options, offer two-way audio, power over Ethernet capabilities, as well as having an analog video output, which is a unique feature to the ChannelVision cameras. If you're using an iPhone, you can use the iPro Secure M app, or soon to be a ChannelVision branded app available. And if you're using the Dome option, you do have an SD card available for flash recording in the Vandal 6521 option. So, taking a closer look at the settings of the camera, how easy it is to adjust that varifocal lens. Simply take a screwdriver, adjust your varifocal lens to the focal length desired, check your focus, and you're good to go. One of the added features with the ChannelVision IP series is a full gamut of cable pinouts here. This is a fairly large pigtail that will offer you a plethora of different applications that you can integrate, including using power for DC voltage if you're not using the power over Ethernet option. You also are going to have an I/O terminal for an alarm trigger so that you can integrate with an alarm system or trigger motion with another piece of equipment. You can use an analog video output as an additional part of our IP cameras, essentially making our IP cameras hybrids. Add a microphone, add an audio output, or use it all over an Ethernet port. The choice is yours. Speaking of Ethernet port, we talked a little bit about power over Ethernet, and what does that mean for you? Well, power over Ethernet does enable you to provide power to the camera remotely up to 328 feet away. The PoE switch does eliminate the need for power outlets at the camera location, and many PoE switches do allow you to remotely reset the router and your camera's power. Alternatives that you can use a PoE injector with the system as well. If you're wondering what the standard for these cameras is for PoE, we are using the 802.3AF platform for both the 6521 and 6522 cameras. Now you may be thinking, so Troy, do you have any recommendations for PoE-enabled switches? Do you sell some? We do sell a handful of PoE-enabled switches that may be able to help for your specific application, and we're also certified with a few additional partners. For some of you out there, you may be familiar with a company called Package Device and Software, and no, that's not a typo. Package Device and Software is a network manufacturer of network devices, both IP, both managed and unmanaged switches for both residential and commercial applications for small or large networks. And the good news is that ChannelVision IP cameras have been certified to work with a handful of their pieces of equipment as well. So to recap the power over Ethernet platform, simply plug your camera into the network PoE-enabled switch, plug the network into the switch as well, and don't forget your power cable. And after that, your camera will be live. Some additional features that the camera, the ChannelVision IP cameras include is a central management software platform, which we briefly talked about earlier. This does allow you to do multi-channel monitoring for up to 36 additional cameras. And did I mention that it was free with no additional licensing, and essentially allows you to convert any desktop or laptop computer into a network video recorder, offering you full functionality, video playback, and control. I alluded to it earlier, but you can integrate this with any smartphone, even if it's not an iPhone, including Android, BlackBerry, Symbian, as well as, of course, the iPhone. Now, there's a lot of other IP cameras out there, so how does ChannelVision stack up? Well, as I mentioned, there are a lot of other good manufacturers out there for IP cameras. This will just give you a snapshot comparison against 3 other popular models that you'll find out there. What you will see here is that the channel vision camera with its 2 megapixel resolution offers high quality video, as well as the ability to see in the dark with the IR illuminators. Many IP cameras do not have this feature. High quality HD resolution, as well as adjustable lenses, integrating with 2-way audio as a great feature to add for a variety of different applications, and offering SD card recording on your dome application. Now, there's a lot of things that you can see here, but one of the things that you cannot see is the value based on the price of this. One thing that has been not a hindrance, but a delay in people moving towards IP is it is a tad bit more expensive. However, the channel vision IP offering does bridge that gap between analog and traditional IP surveillance by offering an incredibly value-based cost on your IP camera that allows you to get into the system, get started, and get going. Now, in the event you're not using IP yet, but maybe you do have a handful of applications to get IP, but maybe your customer has existing analog cameras that they're happy with. If that's the case, you can integrate Channel Vision's video server. These are essentially web channel servers that'll allow the same compressions that we talked about earlier, H.264, Motion JPEG, and MPEG-4, as well as flash recording to an SD card, 2-way audio, and motion detection with RS-232 control. Nice little feature for a single camera. Maybe it's the camera that you already have at the front door that you want to integrate into a touchscreen or something of that nature. Great retrofit solution. Now, if your customer has more than one analog camera and they're not ready to make that full jump to IP, you can feed them the web channel server. This is the 4-channel option, which allows you to have similar features, obviously, except for connect more cameras, as well as integrate with RS-485 for pan, tilt, zoom cameras control. So the concept behind a web server is, well, essentially connect your camera to the web server and then your camera server to the network, essentially converting all your analog cameras into IP cameras that can now be accessed through the network. One thing I have not mentioned yet is the drivers available for Control4. Some of you out there may be integrating with automation platforms such as Control4, and the good news is I have a full gamut of products that you can add to your tool belt, including the IP cameras, both IP cameras that we're talking about today, as well as both web channel servers, and those drivers are available from extravegetables.com, and they are free of charge. So now you may be thinking, great, now I can control my DVR and everything else. Well, not exactly. The driver that Extra Vegetables does for Control4 simply allows you to capture the image from the camera and display it on the Control4 interface. That's all it does. That's what it does. That's it. It's not going to offer you any control over the software, allow you to make any adjustments in the cameras. All it's really doing is pulling the stream and making those 2 pieces of equipment speak a common language. Now, if you're saying, well, that's great, Troy, I don't sell Control4. Well, Channel Vision does offer compatibility with these cameras with a full gamut of automation partners, including Control4, being a Savant certified partner. AMX may come across some commercial applications integrated with Colorado VNet, or Channel Vision as also a certified Crestron integration partner. Now, we talked about a couple different things right here in the past 30 minutes. We covered both residential applications, talking about how you can integrate an analog system from a front door, how you can integrate with a touchscreen automation platform, and some of the things that you need to consider. We also briefly talked about commercial applications and how you can do parking lot coverage, as well as a few other things. And if you are using commercial applications, Channel Vision is ONVIF compliant, as we mentioned earlier, and is also certified with these video management platforms, including Next Level Security, which offers gateways, high-performance routers, as well as video management software, and Video Insight, which typically does a lot of commercial applications and video management platforms for larger scale applications. With that being said, now's a great opportunity for you guys to type in your questions, and I will address a handful of them as I can with respect to everybody else. So please just hang tight. If you have a question, type it in there to the box right now, and we will see if we can address those questions for you. Here's a good question regarding some of the other partners. Do you integrate with RTI, which is another platform for automation? As it stands today, the Channel Vision IP cameras do not stream directly to the RTI platform. We do have other RTI compatible products. However, just because it doesn't stream there doesn't mean that it won't work. There are a handful of other manufacturers of automation that we do work with that are not officially certified, and that's a sidebar application if you do have some specifics for that. Here's a good question regarding the IR illuminators and integration with PoE. Can you use Power over Ethernet allow you to power the IR illuminators as well, or do you need extra power? Power over Ethernet, based on the switches we talked about and the spec for the cameras, will provide power for the IR illuminators as well. Will the IP cameras display video simultaneously through both the Ethernet and the analog connection? The answer is yes. You can do IP as well as high-resolution analog recording at the same time. Question regarding, do we have a pan-tilt zoom in the IP offering? The technical answer for that today is no, but it is something that may be on the menu, and based on your feedback, if that's something that you'd like to see, we do listen to our dealers and tend to develop most of our products based on your feedback. So that would be something to consider. Question regarding the web server. Does that allow you to use Power over Ethernet to power the cameras that are analog? The answer to that question is no. With that being said, we'll have another question section that's available for questions in the event we did not get to address yours yet. But next we're going to be talking a little bit about networking. And I know that sounds like a scary term, but don't worry, I think you guys will be just fine. With that being said, let's take a look at some of the networking basics that you're going to encounter when setting up your IP-based system. First, what are the things that you're going to need? You're going to want to jot down a few notes while you're doing preparation for your installation here, and that would include jotting down your router brand and model number, as well as the password and login. It's handy to make note of your specific modem brand and model as well, and you want to know if you have either a dynamic or a static IP address. Typically in residential applications, your customers will have a dynamic IP address, and what a dynamic IP address implies that your IP is always changing, as opposed to a static IP address, which is a fixed number, always a fixed number, and your specific IP address. So how do you know what your IP address is? Well, there's a handy little website. It's called IP Chicken. No, that's not a typo, and no, I am not a chicken. But the website is ipchicken.com, and this will grant access to your current external IP address. And we'll address dynamic and static IP in a little bit as well. Some other things that you'll have to consider is LAN versus WAN. We sure do love our acronyms in this industry, don't we? Beginning with LAN, or local area network, typically your IP address for a device in this network would be 192.168, et cetera, et cetera. This is typically considered your internal IP address. And you do need to make note of this as well, because this IP address for your local area network will be used in the DVR or your IP camera settings so that you can view them from outside the network. Biggest question I get tech-wise on calls is, I can see it inside the network, but not outside. That means you're using the wrong IP address. You're using the local area network instead of the wide area network, which is the other acronym below. Typically, a wide area network IP address will start with something like 64.183 something or another. And this is your external or outside IP address, and you will need to make note of this as well, and this will be used in the hosting portion of your settings to enable you to view the cameras from outside the network. So, assigning an IP address. Now, this is based on Windows XP, but it's more or less the same concept for Vista and Windows 7 and all the other platforms as well. First thing you're going to want to do is click on your start icon, go to Run, and then type in the CMD command prompt on your keyboard. Hit OK, and once you've done that, it'll take you to a DOS prompt, and you'll type in ipconfig/all into that DOS prompt. Once you've done that and hit Enter, it'll look something like this, and this is where you're going to write down the IP address. This is the IP address of your computer and the local area address assigned to that specific device, in this application, your computer. Next, we're going to have to do is jot down a few more things from this screen, including our default gateway, our DNS server name, and our subnet mask. This information we will need to plug into the settings of the IP camera a little bit later so that we can access it from outside the network. So now that we've taken the default gateway, DNS server, and subnet mask information from the previous slide, we're going to have to give the IP camera a unique IP address. Now, we talked about IP addresses, local area IP addresses, starting with 192.168, and we just jotted one of those down from our computer from the previous screen. Now here, what we're going to have to do is change the last 3 digits from what it said. What I mean, for example, is if it said 192.168.1.200, you would have to change those last 3 digits to 201, 202, for example. This is us actually assigning an IP address to the IP camera itself. To make things easier for you, if you are using the Channel Vision IP cameras, you can actually use the IP installer software, and it will generally generate one of those for you and capture all the information from your local area network. But we wanted to write it down earlier just so that we could verify it's all correct. In this section is also where we're going to have to assign a port to our router. This is the secret sauce that does allow us to view the camera from outside the network. If you have not forwarded a port on your router, you will not be able to see this camera outside of your network. So we suggest choosing a port such as 5400 through 9000. Typically, these are unused ports in the IT world designated for security systems. Now, I can't tell you how to forward a port on every single router, but I can give you an example of what it would look like using a Channel Vision router. And the concept is more or less the same. If you need additional help, there are websites that can help you with this based on your specific router information. You can go to portforward.com and plug in the information for your specific router. I also didn't mention earlier, but you do need the IP address. I'm sorry, not the IP address. The login and administrator password for your router to be able to forward the port. So, looking at the settings of my router, here you'll see on the left-hand side that I enter the IP address of my camera, which I assigned as 20 for the camera in this application. The port that I decided to forward on my router is going to be port 8006, just to keep it simple. Then I enable my TCP settings from the drop-down menu, and now the last thing that you need to do is do your dynamic hosting. This essentially is a website in our application, channelvisionsecurity.com, which enables you to track the continuously changing dynamic IP address that we talked about earlier. Basically, a DDNS service, such as Channel Vision Security, allows you to plug in your external IP address, and it facilitates the changing of the IP address in the background, so that essentially giving you a static IP address. And then it makes it a little bit easier for your customer, because then you can log into the customer's IP camera, such as going directly to CVT, Channel Vision Technology, .channelvisionsecurity.com, port number 5400 in this application, instead of remembering a string of numbers like 192.168, etc., etc. Gives you something a little more personal, and the support knowing that you have a hosting service hosted by the manufacturer that can certainly help you out in case there's anything that comes across your needs. Once you've completed that, simply go to Internet Explorer, type in the IP address that you assigned to the IP camera, and click Enter. And don't forget to log in using your username and password. Default for the cameras are admin. Now, that was more or less networking in a nutshell. We did say we were going to talk a little bit about DVRs as well, so let's take a quick look at those. Now, we're not going to get real deep into DVRs because we mainly wanted to talk about IP today, but I do want to touch base with you on a few things. So we talked a little bit about some of the pros of IP cameras, and some of the pros and cons of analog cameras are seen here. Typically, you'll have a lower initial cost with analog cameras. Analog cameras have been around since 1940, and obviously offer a greater compatibility offering, being that they've been around as long as they have, as well as offering you low light performance with IR illuminators, and certainly the less expensive cost being a big plus. Some of the challenges or drawbacks to analog cameras is that you will have a limited feature set. You're not going to get HD high resolution with an analog camera. And you do have to deal with expensive cabling. RG59 and 18.2 power is going to cost you a little more than a set of Cat5 cables, which essentially can make everything work for your specific application. But if we are talking about using DVRs, because maybe you don't want to make the jump to IP yet, or you're looking for another option, Channel Vision's 3G series DVRs has hit the ground running. It's been out for a while now, making waves in the industry with its performance and price. The 3G series offers dual USB ports so that you can use mouse applications as well as exporting to a flash drive. You'll have dual streaming capability, which implies you'll be able to stream video directly to your smartphone while you're doing high resolution recording. You do have multiple video outputs, including VGA, main, and spot monitoring, all of which you can do at the same time. And in addition to that, you can also add HDMI out as a added feature with the Channel Vision DVRs. Regarding your audio inputs and outputs, you can hook up a microphone directly to this as well. Alarm triggers and sensor relays, as well as a fairly simple to use data network setup, similar in stature to the one that we just reviewed for IP cameras. And the Channel Vision DVRs are also available in 4, 8, and 16 channels. To help you on your low-cost offering, Channel Vision has listened to the dealers and actually put together a handful of kits to make life easy. We have the DVR Kit 1, which includes now a 500 gigabyte hard drive, as well as the 4-channel DVR, 19-inch enclosure with a lockbox, and an IR repeating system for control, so that you can put that DVR in a remote location and hopefully not keep it right under your monitor. An alternative that you have is the DVR Kit 2 and Kit 3. DVR Kit 2 will offer you 4 cameras, 540 TV lines that can see in the dark, as well as the DVR with a hard drive 4-channel. Your indoor option is your Kit 3. The good news is that both Kit 2 and Kit 3 have a great price for a kit price, slightly more expensive than you would find at Costco, but offering your customer a custom solution. So, both of those applications we talked about earlier, IP and analog. If you're using IP, simply connect your IP cameras to the network. If you're using analog cameras, feed them either to your DVR and then the network, or a video server to the network. Once into the network, after you've done all the steps that we outlined earlier, you will be able to access this via any of your smart devices, computer, or remotely for that matter. With that being said, I don't expect everybody to remember 100% of everything that we did today. So to make that a little bit easier for you, there is a document for forwarding, for setting up both your IP cameras and your DVR on channelvision.com, which outlines the steps that we reviewed today in a little more detail. With that being said, I'll open up for another section of questions to see if we can address any of those that we may have missed earlier, so we can keep you guys working here. Is the free web recording software also included with the web server? The answer to that question is yes, and it is also the same software platform that integrates between the IP cameras and the web server in the event that you're making a scalable hybrid system, if you will, that you'll be able to get at a later time. Regarding the presentation that we're looking at today, I don't know if I'm going to have this available for email because it is a fairly large download. However, I do have something better for you, which I'll tell you about in just a second. With that being said, just a couple additional things for you to make note on. You'll be able to call us anytime that you need anything. Channel Vision does offer 24/7, 365 technical support. We do offer 1-year warranty on all of our powered products and 10-year warranty on all of our passive products. We do offer free training, so if a friend charges you money to come here today, I would ask for a refund. We also offer free system design if you need help designing your camera system, as well as custom building opportunities on an OEM level. Recapping all those product categories: Channel Vision structured wiring, IR repeater systems, multi-room audio, including intercoms and surveillance solutions, and that free system design service we talked about is available on channelvision.com. Go into channelvision.com, fill in the blanks, and we can actually design the entire system for you with just a little bit of information. Nice little sales tool for your sales team, something that you can hand to your customers, something that's tangible, and offer you a handful of goodies that you can integrate professionally. You can also download the Channel Vision application and solution guide. Channel Vision does manufacture over 700 products, and well, we don't have time to go through all of them today. But you can download this on channelvision.com on the right-hand side under product applications and get a snapshot of the Channel Vision offering. Now, I first would like to thank everybody for attending. Next month, we're actually going to be talking about some of our audio distribution options. This is the fancy marketing spiel on it, but basically we're going to be talking about our ARIA audio product line and how you can make money doing distributed audio. Last thing I want to make note for you guys is how you can connect with us. Many of you guys have asked, can I get a copy of this seminar? How do I access it? Good news is you can go to channelvision.com and take a look at our YouTube channel. Here you'll find a whole plethora of previous recording webinars that we've done, as well as installation videos, how-to videos, including some provided and produced by our installers and some of our customers as well. If you're a tweeter or a Twitter or something of that nature, you can follow us on Twitter, and you can certainly become a fan of us on Facebook. I would encourage you to do this. Do like Channel Vision Facebook. There we will be offering a glimpse into some top secret applications that may be coming out, and this is the easiest way to make sure you're the first to know, as well as offering special promotion access through the Facebook fan page. So do log on there as well. I'll open for a couple more questions if you have right now. If not, you can feel free to contact us at the number seen here on the screen. Here's a handful of questions that looks like I didn't address. Does your IP camera work on a Mac computer? The answer to that question is yes. You can view the cameras on a Mac computer, and we have instructions available to help you with that. However, the sensor management software does not allow you to record on a Mac computer. Do you have an NVR that is available, network video recorder? Channel Vision's network video recorder will not be available until we'll call it June. At the way we're at it's already April. We will have a network recorder available soon. We are ONVIF compliant, implying that we'll integrate with any ONVIF compliant network video recorder. Do you have a hybrid DVR? I'm going to answer that question by saying no. A hybrid DVR does say imply that you can record both IP and analog on a DVR, for example. However, I will say that we have a hybrid IP camera that does offer BNC video output as well as the Ethernet application. And in that application, you would get high-resolution 700 TV lines off of that BNC connector. I don't see any other questions at the moment. If I didn't get a chance to address all of your questions, again, we will recap those at a later time. I want to thank everybody. As promised, I understand that you guys do have valuable time, and I told you I wouldn't keep you much longer than 45 minutes. I'm currently going here at about 47, so that does about put us at the expiration for time. However, I do appreciate your attendance. Do join us next month for our webinar on ARIA Audio, and again, this training will be available on channelvision.com as well for your YouTube channel. Thank you for your time. Again, my name is Troy Barron, and I look forward to speaking with you all very soon. Thank you, and have a great day.